All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, theFellowKGB. You can follow me on Twitter at theFellowKGB. And today we're going to be covering the 3 p.m. games for tomorrow's games. And then we're going to look at the Sunday night football game and the Monday night game. So we got 7 games to talk about here. We're going to be doing a screen share with the fantasyfellowship.com. You can go ahead and click on the week 3 start-sit charts. And we're kind of just basically going to cover the start-sit charts. We're going to look at some practice reports. And then we're going to look at some snap shares and some target shares from last week. So we already covered the noon games. If you haven't checked that out, I put that video out yesterday. Today it's Saturday, September 22nd or 26th. It's about 11:45 in the morning. So here we go. The first game on the Sunday late slate is going to be the Jets and the Colts. We're really not excited about this one at all. As you can see, I have no Jets here worth starting. Chris Hogan might be the only guy that I think you could start. If we look at my opportunity report from last week, we saw Chris Hogan. He got 59 snaps, 91%. He ended up with 8 targets, 6 catches, 75 yards. Braxton Berrios was the next heavily used receiver. He actually caught the touchdown, but we really can't rely on any Jets. The only reason I have Chris Hogan here with a question mark is because maybe you're a guy with like Michael Thomas or Devontae Adams or even Julio Jones, and maybe Chris Hogan's hanging around the waiver wire. So he's just kind of like a crazy dart throw at the flex spot. And then, yeah, we're not trusting Berrios. Frank Gore racked up a ton of carries. I think it was 23 carries last week. Sam Darnold, we can't really even trust him as a quarterback too in Superflex. This team is just dinged up. If we look at their practice reports real quick, they're missing a lot of guys. And there's just a huge stink around the Jets. So I get it if you do not want to start any Jets. But yeah, Jamison Crowder's out. Safety Ashton Davis. George Font, their starting tackle. Looks like Brashad Perriman's been listed out. Quincy Wilson, cornerback. Just a lot of injuries here. A lot of did not practices. Some guys got some limiteds in here. But we're not trusting the Jets at all for fantasy football this weekend. And what's scary is the Jets play on Thursday Night Football against the Broncos. So it looks like we get a really disappointing Thursday night game. But on the Colts side of things, I think the Colts are favored to win by like 11.5 points. So start your Colts. That means Phillip Rivers can be a quarterback 2 in Superflex. You're starting Jonathan Taylor as a running back 1. No question about that. And then guys like T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman Jr., these guys get interesting as kind of wide receiver 3 flexes. I'm just trying to see if I have the Indianapolis Colts in here. So last weekend for the Colts targets against the Vikings, Mo Alley-Cox led the way with 6 targets, 5 catches, 111 yards. I think we're starting Mo Alley-Cox this weekend as a tight end 1. He looked great. I think Phillip Rivers, go back to Antonio Gates, Hunter Henry. Phillip Rivers has always meshed really well with his tight end. So I like Mo Alley-Cox as a tight end 1 streamer. And he shouldn't be on the waiver wire. If he's available, you should probably find a way to get him on your team. And then you got Michael Pittman Jr. here. Rookie wide receiver with 6 targets, 4 catches, 37 yards. T.Y. Hilton, 5 catches, 5 targets, 3 catches, and 28 yards. So a little bit of a disappointing game for Hilton. He dropped a touchdown in this one. He kind of got the ball lost in the sun. But from a target or from a snap share standpoint, Michael Pittman Jr. led the way with 92%, Pascal 81%, and Hilton 58%. So this is kind of why I like Michael Pittman Jr. is now that Paris Campbell is no longer, he's probably out for the year. So Pittman Jr. becomes a sneaky guy that I've added him in a couple leagues just on the end of my bench. So see if he's available. But this one's going to be pretty simple for the Colts. They're going to pound the rock with JT. They're going to take their shots to Mo Alley-Cox, T.Y. Hilton, and Michael Pittman Jr. So yeah, I really don't feel that great about T.Y. Hilton this weekend. It is the Jets, but this team, it's the Jets. They should be able to control. They're favored by 11.5, so I'm a little bit worried about this one getting out of hand early, and maybe they just keep relying on Jonathan Taylor. Wouldn't surprise me if Jordan Wilkins gets some carries in this one like he did last week. Nyheim Hines, he's really game script dependent. Again, if we expect the Colts to be winning their games, we probably don't want to put Nyheim Hines into our lineup. So he's on the bench for me. And then, yeah, we're going to monitor Zach Pascal, Wilkins. I think Jack Doyle is out. I don't know. He maybe got in some limited practices. Jack Doyle, he's questionable with an ankle injury, but he did log a full practice. So maybe that takes a little bit off Mo Alley-Cox. But he played so well last week, and I think they're going to try to make sure he gets 5 to 6 targets in this one. So we'll be quick with this one. I really don't want to talk too much about the Colts Jets. Start your Colts, especially Jonathan Taylor, and consider some of the guys that we just talked about. The Panthers and the Chargers. I'm really excited about this one. So we'll start with the Panthers side of things. Teddy Bridgewater, he had 3 turnovers last weekend. A couple of them, were one of them was a really bad throw that he probably would not make 90 times out of 100. So Teddy Bridgewater, he's going to be okay because he's going to get the passing volume. Without Christian McCaffrey, though, it makes me a little bit nervous to see how this looks. So I have him actually in a QB2 league, and I think I'm resting him. We're going to leave him on the bench this weekend, but I do have him as a quarterback too in super flex leagues, just because there could be a lot of passing in this one for the Panthers. You're starting DJ Moore, you're starting Robbie Anderson. These guys should be locks in our lineups this weekend for redraft and whatever dynasty leagues. But the guys that I'm interested in the flex positions, I think Mike Davis can be a PPR RB2/flex. He was probably the hot ad of the week on the waiver wire. So Mike Davis is going to be a fine PPR play. And then Curtis Samuel. I'm excited about Curtis Samuel's potential because Christian McCaffrey's out, and they do like to do some gadget plays with Curtis Samuel. So we might see him lined up at the running backs position. We're going to see him out wide in the slot as a receiver. And he's on the field a lot already. So without Christian McCaffrey, we might see Curtis Samuel maybe get 4 to 5 carries in this one. And we're probably going to see the offense try to get a little bit more creative with him. So I think he can be a low-end PPR wide receiver 3 flex play for us. And then, we're not starting the defense. Ian Thomas, we were excited about him and his potential for dynasty, but it's just not coming together right now. If we look at the opportunity report from last weekend's game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's see here how this went. So McCaffrey, he got hurt in the third quarter, so 64% of the snaps. Then we see Mike Davis come in. He only got 1 carry, which was a little bit weird, but they were down a lot, so they were throwing the ball a ton. So we see 8 targets, 8 catches, 74 yards. I don't expect us to see this kind of volume. So I think maybe somewhere in the 5 to 6 catch range and maybe 50 to 60 yards of receiving. And then anything on the ground will be a bonus for us in PPR leagues. But you're starting DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel. As you can see, they pretty much just run 3 wide receivers. The next best receiver was 26% target share. Samuel was number 3 at 70%. So I think these guys can all be in your lineups. And then here I talked about Curtis Samuel, 4 carries, 26 yards, 2 targets, and 13 yards. So it's likely a 6 to 8 point floor, but he hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year. I think they're going to try to open the offense up and see what they can do. So we're not trusting the tight ends or anything. So the Panthers, they're probably looking at 0-3 here, but they do play their rookie quarterback, Justin Herbert. Anything can happen. And I'm encouraged by Teddy Bridgewater because he's been really connecting with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. So we see 367 yards last weekend. He had the 2 ints and the fumble. But overall, it's not if you look at these numbers, it's not terrible. So for super flex leagues, I'm interested. And then on the Chargers side of things, Justin Herbert gets the start. Somehow the Panthers defense is number 1 against the quarterbacks in fantasy so far, but that's because they're so bad against the run. So I think Herbert, he's a fine quarterback 2, low-end quarterback 2 play. Hopefully you got him in your super flex leagues. But you're starting Austin Eckler. I think you have to start Josh Kelly in this one. And then Keenan Allen kind of came, to life with Justin Herbert last weekend. So I think he's back in our good graces as a wide receiver 2. Hunter Henry also had a pretty nice game. So he's a safe tight end 1 again. But the guy to keep an eye on is Mike Williams. I don't know if we can trust Mike Williams with Justin Herbert. So that's why I have the question mark here. But I'm okay with leaving Williams on the bench if you have a better option. But it's likely going to take him, a big touchdown play for him to make your day. And then we're probably going to want to start the Chargers defense. Like I said, Bridgewater had a couple turnovers last weekend. He had 3 turnovers actually. And then no Christian McCaffrey. So we'll see what this offense can look like. And then, there's really no one on these teams' benches that we want. So I expect the Chargers to be able to run the ball at will. And we'll see if Teddy Bridgewater can do enough with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Davis and Samuel. So I'm kind of interested in this game. I think it could actually be a sneaky big fantasy day from this game. On the Broncos and the Buccaneers, this one's in Denver. I think you're going to start Tom Brady as your quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. Of course, you're starting Evans, you're starting Godwin. But as far as that, those are really the only locks. And then we have Leonard Fournette here, who I have listed as a flex. I think he can be plugged in as your running back 3 flex spot. I think that's totally fine. Last year, I think Leonard Fournette destroyed the Broncos for like over 200 yards. So maybe we see Tampa Bay. We kind of expect the Broncos offense to be lackluster this weekend without Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, and maybe even Jerry Jeudy. So I'm expecting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to kind of, have this game in check for most of the time and be able to establish the run. So that means Leonard Fournette can be in our lineups this weekend. You might even want to start the Tampa Bay defense. Their defense played pretty well last weekend. And again, they're playing Driscoll, no Cortland Sutton, no Jerry Jeudy maybe. So I think you can start Tampa Bay's defense. And then guys that are going to be on our bench for the Buccaneers, Ronald Jones, we'll see if he can, maybe get up to 7 to 10 carries in this one if we expect them to win the game. OJ Howard, Rob Gronkowski, they're just not doing it for us. We can't trust them. Scotty Miller, can't trust it. LaShawn McCoy got some nice PPR days, so we'll see if he's more involved in the game plan. But I think the Buccaneers are pretty simple. You're going to want to just rely on Tom Brady in a quarterback 2 league. Evans and Godwin are smash plays, and Leonard Fournette can be your running back 2 flex. On the Broncos side of things, Jeff Driscoll, we'll see what he can do. He's always been a good running quarterback. But now he's like really down without the weapons. No Cortland Sutton's out for the year. Jerry Jeudy is questionable. Let's look at the practice reports for the Denver Broncos. I think he's questionable with, he's questionable with that rib injury. He had a really big hit last weekend, but he did log a full practice on Friday. So this looks like a game time decision. So we'll have to check our lineups. If you're relying on Jerry Jeudy to be your wide receiver 3 or 4, just make sure you have a pivot in play. Philip Lindsay's going to be probably out. The good news for Philip Lindsay, though, is I think he's going to be able to play on Thursday Night Football against the Jets. So hold on to him if you have him. But yeah, otherwise, everything got full practices here. Drew Lock's out, of course. But the Broncos should be able to try to pound the ball with Melvin Gordon. I think that's going to be their best game plan. So you're starting Gordon as your RB2. You're starting Noah Fant for sure. He's been fantastic through the 2 games so far. But yeah, we gotta. I mean, if Jerry Jeudy plays, I'm a little bit nervous to put him out there, just because of the rib injury. It could, maybe he gets another shot and he can't play the full game. But I think because of the lack of weapons in the receiving game, you're probably going to throw Jerry Jeudy as your wide receiver 3. But the guy that I'm super interested in is KJ Hamler. If we look at the opportunity report last weekend, where's the Broncos? Did I do the Broncos? I did not get to the Broncos yet, but we got our first question in of the day, Braden Schaefer. So do you think Saquon will be back for fantasy playoffs? I would not expect it. Typically an ACL injury is it's usually a 8 to 9 month recovery plan. So I would assume that we're going to be without Saquon for the full year, and we're not going to see him until training camp seasons next year. But back to the Broncos, KJ Hamler. When I rewatched the Broncos-Steelers game, KJ Hamler was getting open at will. So he looks like a guy that's really shifty. He kind of reminds me of Deshaun Jackson. I picked him up in a couple leagues. So if KJ Hamler is available, Jerry Jeudy's banged up. So KJ Hamler might be the leading target man this weekend. And I'm actually flexing him in a couple leagues. So just check out KJ Hamler on the waiver wire. He could be, one of your end bench stash pieces. But Cortland Sutton's out for the year. They're going to be rolling with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and then this Tim Patrick. He's going to be the bigger outside receiver. But when they go to 3 wide receiver sets, these are the 3 guys they're going to throw the ball to. We're not thinking about Deshaun Hamilton or Royce Freeman at all. But the Broncos, how are they going to move the ball? It's going to be Jeff Driscoll trying to run around with his legs and make plays with Jeudy, Hamler, Tim Patrick, and then hopefully Melvin Gordon gets some PPR play. But I don't know, man. The Broncos are not looking like a team that we want to rely on for fantasy football this year. But I'm open to Hamler being one of those waiver wire ads that could help us out. So start your Buccaneers, get that Bucs defense in there. And then, let's just kind of take a wait and see approach with this Broncos offense. They do play Thursday night. So hopefully everyone comes out healthy in this one, and we can kind of reassess the situation against the Jets on Thursday night. The Lions and the Cardinals, it looks like Kenny Golladay is going to be going in this one. So I think Matt Stafford's he's a low-end quarterback 1. He's best used as a quarterback 2. I only have Kenny Golladay here as a wide receiver 2. There's a good chance that they do maybe they don't give him a full workload of snaps this week. They're going to kind of try to ease him in. Again, he's had a hamstring injury the last couple of weeks, so those are a really tricky deal for wide receivers. So I don't know if we're going to see him play 80-90% of the snaps. So get him in your lineups, but just lower expectations a little bit. Because Kenny Golladay is back, I do like Marvin Jones as a wide receiver 3. Sometimes he just needs that help of the defense focusing on someone else, and Marvin Jones gets the cornerback 2 on the other team. You're going to start TJ Hawkinson as your tight end 1. And then the running back situation, I think DeAndre Swift is like a must start in PPR leagues. He's the clear pass down back. He's been over double digits in both weeks. And I think you can flex him. So if you have DeAndre Swift in a PPR league, I'm going to try to find a way to get him in my lineups. We expect the Cardinals offense to do basically whatever they want against the Lions defense. So Matt Stafford's probably gonna have to throw the ball a lot in this one. They're not going to be able to depend on Peterson or Kerryon Johnson in the running game. So I feel pretty confident in saying start DeAndre Swift this weekend, and then you're probably going to see this hell no next to the Lions defense for me most of the season. And then we're just not trusting any of these players, but. Go ahead and get these guys in your lineups. I think there's going to be a lot of passing volume from the Lions on this one, and hopefully DeAndre Swift can score a touchdown for us. And then on the Cardinals side of things, this one's pretty simple too. Like, I don't need to tell you to start Kyler Murray. You're going to start Kenyon Drake. You're going to start DeAndre Hopkins. Those guys are locks in our roster. But we did see that Christian Kirk has been ruled out. So this is kind of why I like Larry Fitzgerald here as a low-end PPR wide receiver 3 or a flex play. And then just because we expect the Cardinals offense to be, humming along and doing some big things, I think Chase Edmonds could be a sneaky guy. If you're hurt at running back and you need to whip somebody out, Chase Edmonds maybe has a nice day. And then because Christian Kirk's out, we're going to see Andy Isabella probably get the start in the boat, the majority of those snaps. So Andy Isabella actually becomes a low-end flex play as well. And we're not trusting Dan Arnold, but I'm curious about Andy Isabella. I don't know if I'm going to throw him out in my lineups this week. But we'll see if he can make any noise. And then looks like we got another question here. We got a question on Marvin Jones or Mark Ingram flex. So I don't know why, but I always like having someone in on my Monday night football game. Sometimes it's nice to just have that, that hedge and someone to root for and help get you over the top for the weekend. So we do, with the Cardinals, Patrick Peterson, when Kenny Galladay's in the game, I don't know if he's going to be on Galladay half the time, Marvin Jones half the time. But I feel pretty confident about Mark Ingram. The Chiefs, their running defense isn't that. The Chiefs defense isn't that great to begin with. And if we expect this, the Chiefs and Ravens game to kind of be back and forth in a tight knit game, I think Mark Ingram, he's got a really good chance at getting a touchdown this weekend and getting, 10 to 15 carries or total 10 to 15 touches. So I think I'm going to lean with Mark Ingram as the flex, just assuming that's a PPR league. I think he's a safer floor. Mark Ingram's a safe play with the floor, but Marvin Jones, he could get you 2 for 29 yards, or he's going to, probably go 6 for 92 and a touchdown or something. So he's got a wider variance. For me, Mark Ingram on a Monday night, just give me the safe points, and then hopefully he can get a touchdown or 2. And we expect that game to be a close game. So they're going to have to keep running the ball and just trying to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. So I really like the Baltimore Ravens running game this weekend. But that's pretty much it for the Lions and the Cardinals. Get your dudes in. This is probably the game of the week. I think this is America's game of the week on TV. Cowboys at Seattle Seahawks. There's a lot of not so interesting games this week 3, but this is probably the jewel of all of them. There's going to be a lot of offense in this game. You're starting Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, no question. CeeDee Lamb has actually become the number 2. So I view Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb as like the 1A, 1B, and then Michael Gallup is probably the number 2 right now. The offensive line has not been able to really hold up and let Prescott get stuff going vertically down the field. But maybe in this one, the Seahawks don't really have a very good defensive line or pass rush. So this one feels like a Gallup game to me. I'm putting him in as my wide receiver 3 flex. CeeDee Lamb, though, he's gonna continue to eat in the slot and just get those short range targets and be able to run after the catch. So I'm starting all 3 receivers, and then Dalton Schultz. I've talked about this like all summer with my Blake Jarwin take. Whenever the defense is focusing on the Cowboys, you got to focus on Elliott, Cooper, Lamb, Gallup. You have to focus on all those receivers, and Dalton Schultz kind of gets left behind. So I think Schultz can be a tight end 1 this weekend. The Seahawks are not very good against receivers or tight ends, so this could be a really good play. You're probably going to want to stack the Cowboys in DFS. This offense is going to roll, a lot of mouths to feed, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities to throw the ball because you have to defend Russell Wilson. So this game's probably going to be in the high 30s. Maybe even we see a team get over 40 points in this one. But you're starting Russell Wilson, you're starting Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. These guys are going to be on my start-sit column every week. These are the clear starters for the Seahawks. And then we're going to monitor Greg Olsen. I think Will Dissly is slowly going to start taking over this tight end 1 group. Olsen just did not look good on Sunday Night Football last weekend. I think we're going to see they're kind of being cautious with Will Dissly right now in terms of snaps. But the fact that he's already, playing 40-some% of the snaps, coming off of his Achilles injuries last year. I think Disley's slowly going to start to take over. So I could see him being relevant on the waiver wire pretty soon. Carlos Hyde, David Moore. We'll see if David Moore can, do anything crazy with a big touchdown play. But yeah, Russell Wilson's cooking. Like Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, these guys are really both wide receiver ones. I only have the one wide receiver two spot. But I love both these guys. The Dallas Cowboys are dinged up on defense and cornerback. So I expect both these receivers to smash. I expect all the receivers on Dallas to smash, and then we'll see if Dalton Schultz can get anything. But this one's going to be really fun. So if you had to watch one game this weekend, whether it's noon or 3 p.m. games, this is the game you want to watch. So enjoy that one. That's easily the crown jewel of the weekend. We got our Sunday night game here, Packers and the Saints. I do not expect Devontae Adams to play in this one. So that's going to limit Aaron Rodgers a little bit. So I might move Rodgers down to a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. Adams is listed as doubtful right now, so we can't expect him to play. I don't think he's going to play. But you're starting Rodgers as a low-end quarterback 1, quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues. You're starting Aaron Jones, no problem. But if Adams is not going to play, you're going to want to maybe think about getting MVS in there and Allen Lazard. These two are going to be the receivers that get easily the most snaps after Adams. And Valdez, all he needs is one play to make your day. And they're kind of showing that he can do more than just be a one-trick pony. So they're finding other ways to get him the ball. Again, he's a really good vertical threat, and Rodgers has been comfortable. Just keep throwing him the targets, and then they're going to connect. So Allen Lazard's more of the possession receiver, so we could see both these guys get 6-7 catches in this one with no Adams. But it's all about Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is probably going to be the leading receiver on this team this week in terms of targets. And then I guess if Adams is out, they're probably going to rely on some of these tight ends a little bit more, whether that's Rob Tonyan. I don't have Jay Sternberger listed here, but we're going to see Tonyan. We're going to see the rookie Josiah DeGuara get some snaps. Jamal Williams is an interesting guy. He's got like a 7 to 8 point PPR floor, so he shouldn't be on your waiver wires if he's out there. If anything happens to Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams is going to be easily the must add of the week. And then with no Adams, we're going to see rookie or second year, I think he's a third year, but he's a pseudo running back receiver, Tyler Ervin. We're going to see him get some snaps. And then the fourth receiver on the team is Malik Taylor, but we really can't trust any of these guys in this game. For the Packers side of things, it's all Aaron Jones. It's all about taking deep shots to MVS and Allen Lazard when they can. On the Saints side of things, I think Drew Brees is just a quarterback 2 in Superflex League. You're starting Alvin Kamara, no doubt. This one's going to be fun because it's like Aaron Jones versus Alvin Kamara. And then we're going to see if Drew Brees, Traquan Smith is kind of like the MVS of this Packer or of the Saints offense, where he's going to get the deep shots, and he's kind of becoming more of a possession receiver too. So I like Traquan Smith as your wide receiver 3. We'll see if Jared Cook can do anything for us as a tight end 1. And then Emmanuel Sanders. I don't feel great about Emmanuel Sanders in my lineup, but he can be your flex wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues. And then, Michael Thomas has already been ruled out. We're not really trusting Latavius Murray, Taysom Hill, Deontay Harris. But this one's pretty simple. We're going to see it's basically which running back is going to have the better game. If it's Aaron Jones, the Packers are probably going to have a better night. If the Packers can't stop Alvin Kamara, I could see the Saints. Technically last weekend, the Raiders couldn't stop Alvin Kamara, and they still lost. So it's really up to these guys, Traquan Smith, Jared Cook, Emmanuel Sanders. Can these guys make enough plays with Drew Brees, to beat Rodgers? Because Rodgers, he's going to be clicking with Jones, MVS, and Lazard. So really fun game here. 2-0 Packers, 1-1 Saints. We'll see who can basically supplant their. This one's for basically the lead in the NFC. So this one's got a lot of weight to it for potentially the end of the year to see who could be the number 1 seed. So enjoy that game. And then here is the Monday Night Football game, Chiefs and the Ravens. This one's for fantasy evaluation. It's really simple. You're starting Patrick Mahomes. You're starting Clyde Edwards. You're starting Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. We did see Sammy Watkins pop up on the injury report with a concussion. So I'm a little bit nervous about seeing what he can do. He's questionable right now. He didn't practice on Thursday. He got limited in on Friday, so I'll have to check and see what he did for reports today. But if he can't go, I think Mecole Hardman's an interesting guy. They're probably going to pull up Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle for more snaps, but we're not going to trust those guys in fantasy. So I think if Watkins plays, I'm okay with him as a wide receiver 3 flex. But if he's out, I think Mecole Hardman becomes a really interesting play. But again, you're starting Kelce, Hill, Edwards, and Mahomes. I don't have to tell you to do that. On the Ravens side of things, Lamar Jackson's in our lineups, Mark Ingram's in our lineups, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews. I think J.K. Dobbins is an interesting low-end RB2, PPR flex play. If you think about how the Ravens are going to want to win this game, and the Ravens have lost to the Chiefs 2 times the last 2 years, and the Ravens need to establish the run. They need to keep Mahomes and the Chiefs offense on the sideline. So I think we're going to see a heavy dose of running, whether that's Lamar, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, even Gus Edwards got a lot of looks last weekend. So I think J.K. Dobbins could be used as a low-end PPR, RB2. I really don't want to trust either of the defenses in this one. As good as the Ravens defense is, it's the Chiefs offense. I'm not starting the Chiefs defense against Lamar. So this one's going to be an offensive, fantasy bonanza. So enjoy this one, and we're going to monitor Miles Boykin, Willie Snead. I think if the Ravens are going to win, it's going to be based on a big play by Boykin or Snead or even Duvernay, one of these secondary receivers that could help put this game over the top. So, but yeah, just get as many pieces as you can in this one. We'll monitor Sammy Watkins, but we got this is a really good slate, starting with that. I mean, the noon games are kind of whatever, but we get Seattle and Dallas at the America's time slot. We get Packers Saints on Sunday Night Football, and we get Chiefs Ravens on Monday night. So congrats to the schedule makers on this one. This one's probably the best group of games from primetime that we see. So super excited. If you have any questions, you can follow me on Twitter at theFellowKGB. Hit me up with your questions. Again, I have the start sit column up here at thefantasyfellowship.com. Check that out. Don't forget to leave a like, comment the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm doing this all year. But yeah, that's going to pretty much wrap up today's show. Good luck. And yeah, don't forget to hit me up with questions if you have them.